For my final major project, I would like to create a podcast/soundscape on the importance of sound design, specifically the art of Foley and how it's used in film. I'll be working solo on this project, so my role in the podcast would be director, producer, sound recordist and editor. The reason I would also label this project as a soundscape is because I don't just want to be talking into a microphone about the importance of sound, without actually showing my skills by using examples of my work. I would begin my podcast by creating an intro and an outro, which would be instrumental music that fades into the dialogue, and it would also play again at the end to indicate that the podcast is wrapping up. I would realistically like to play some examples of Foley that I've created myself, and I'll put them in the background of the introduction. So while I'm talking about what Foley is and listing different artificial sounds, I would want those sounds to be played at the same time. I'd want to start by listing sounds that everyone has heard in films, like a trotting horse or a boat coming to shore. This should hopefully make the audience realise what is actually made in a studio and how important post-production is. The aim is for the sounds to be undetectable as fake, and I wouldn't want them to know the difference between what is real and what was made using Foley. I would like the piece to be slightly interactive, so I would want to include a small game where the audience guesses which out of two sounds played was the real one and which was created in a studio using Foley. This could be a sound like walking in snow, where an actual person is walking in the snow in the first clip, but the second clip it would be someone like pressing boots into broken up cereal and cornstarch to get that squeaky, crunchy sound. The next round would be, for example, walking in grass, where one is the real clip and the other one is maybe shredded newspaper in a bag being ruffled. After each round, the fake one will be revealed and then played again. But for the final round, I would like it to be two clips of new sounds, but then at the reveal, it would be shown that in fact neither of those sounds were real and that both were made using Foley. I would afterwards like to talk about how Foley is used in so many things, and the sounds that we hear all around us that are included in many films are mostly created artificially. I would also suggest that the audience listen out next time they watch a film and see which parts could be made using Foley. I would like the podcast to not only inform the audience about the art of Foley, but I would like it to create appreciation for the effort that goes into creating a more vivid portrayal in film. I would also like to talk to someone in that particular field and ask them questions about their experience with SFX or Foley. I would hope to gain some tips or tricks into replicating particular sounds and would like to include examples of their work. I initially thought about interviewing them on the podcast so that it's like a conversation between two people, but due to current circumstances I do think it would be best to ask questions separately or over email and include their answers in the podcast by quoting them. I would also like to include an example of their work because it's likely that each audience member is imagining something different to match that sound. I may hire a voice actor to talk about Foley and do any dialogue, as I can picture a strong male voice that appears confident and authoritative. I would like the speech to sound crisp and clear and the information to appear interesting while also making the speaker sound knowledgeable about the topic. For recording, the equipment I would use is the Rode NT Pod mic. This would be good for voice only and in a room to absorb background sound. The software for recording dialogue would be GarageBand, as I would be exporting the recorded dialogue after condensing it and would move it to Adobe Audition. That's where I would edit together all the sounds created. I would also use Adobe for creating the intro and the outro, so I could fade in and fade out. To record sounds, I would use a Rode video mic and pair it with a recording device like a Zoom. This is a more directional mic and would be better for Foley. My other option would be a Tascam, provided I was in a quiet environment and no interruptions were made by background sounds. I may also do a photo shoot of Foley equipment and the microphone to create a thumbnail for the podcast. To end the piece, I would like to use the same music as the intro to indicate that it's the end of the podcast or the topic is wrapping up. I would like it to fade in quietly while the dialogue is still being spoken, and then as the words finish, the music would get louder and be the only thing that's played. It would then finally fade out, ending the podcast, and it may sound something like this.